Are you listening? Damn.
Yo, what's going on? It's here, Sonny, ready to get this thing started. And another episode of AFC North Talk, and it was a week, guys. It was a week. Shout out to everybody that is joining the live stream. Remember, if you want to participate here with super chats so we can answer your questions or highlight a comment, please do so. Also, chat is being monitored, guys, so you can trash talk all you want, but please, no spamming, none of that craziness, okay? Anyway. Here, Mr. Tony, how you feeling today? I feel good energy, good vibes from you.
Yeah, I'm feeling great. Feeling refreshed. You know, I had a week-long vacation this last week, honeymoon, and I'm feeling great, feeling refreshed. And so are the Steelers, by the way. The second half of that game, I think, was very refreshing for us Steeler fans.
Okay, Ace, man, you should be happy too, bro.
Yeah, I'm definitely happy. I mean, obviously, I'm upset that the Steelers won the North, but hey, the Bengals got another win, back-to-back wins. And so, yeah, it's definitely feeling positive over here. I know there's been a lot of negativity for me this season, but there's going to be some positivity today.
Shout out to the Who They Nation. I see them representing in the chat. And then let me finish with my guy, Q. How you doing, man?
You know, I'm just worried about Pittsburgh. That's it. That's all I'm thinking about. Pitts Berg. That's all I'm worried about. You know,
okay. I like you go full Belichick on this one. We're on to Pittsburgh.
Okay. Belichick had a good quote the other day or yesterday. Like, who's gonna be the starting QB next week? The game's 15 minutes old. I don't know. that was typical Belichick. Anyway,
I love throwing the phone. Throwing the phone's gonna be a meme forever.
Yeah, that is true. Memphis says the Jets got lucky. Shaking my head. Oh well, Pittsburgh. We'll see you and Mason Rudolph. Mason coming back Sunday.
We'll talk about that on Thursday's show.
Oh God! Don't start with the run game, Trip.
The Trip says to be fair.
Run game. Nah, hold on, Trip. I'm gonna get to you, bro. But if we talk about this run game, because I done heard it all week. Why did Baker Mayfield throw the ball 55 times? I have a film review coming out tomorrow. You'll see why they did not run the ball more than 18 times. Yeah. You talk about why the Steelers don't run the ball. It was the same reason the Browns shouldn't have ran the ball. But if you're impatient, you don't want to watch the analysis or hear me ranting about 45 minutes here. Just look at Nick Harris's tape all game and then tell me if you feel comfortable running the ball with that man on the offensive line.
Okay. So let me just read it. To be fair to Baker, he had to play with talent similar to what Lamar's been with all year. So that's tough.
Oh, my God.
He should run more. Big trust.
Okay. Wait, no, time out.
I've seen it a lot.
Pookie Brown is bad. Pookie Brown is not as bad as Jamarcus Brantley. All right, y'all want to tell me what college Jamarcus Brantley went to? What kind of numbers Jamarcus Brantley put up? What about Marvin Hall? Y'all know about Marvin Hall?
Don't even know who that is.
I actually don't know. I actually do know who Marvin Hall is, but he's not good.
When I was watching the game, I saw 84. I was like, did we sign Antonio Bryant? Like, did we sign AB? No, that's Jamarcus Brantley. That's who he was out there throwing. The dude didn't even dress for, like, when they had this whole situation go down on Saturday, he was in, like, his house. He had to get Ubered to the plane because he wasn't supposed to travel. He wasn't supposed to travel on Saturday. He had to get Ubered to the plane just to go.
The thing about practice. Yeah, the thing about practice squad players we have to remember is the practice squad players likely have never taken a snap with Baker Mayfield. Literally, likely have never, not even in training camp, taken a snap with Baker Mayfield. They're practice squad guys, practice with the second and third team. They're the scout team guys. That's where their job is at practice. They are not out there taking reps with Baker. So the fact that it was an 11th hour thing of like, hey, by the way, you got no wide receivers on all your practice squad guys. Got to come to the roster.
Let's hold it for when we discuss the Browns situation. You see, Trip, what you did here, bro? You see?
Let's
do this soon. Like I said, let's do this soon. Let me start with what arguably was the best game this week, meaning like most fun to watch. Like I actually watched all these games, and the most fun to watch was the Bengals game, right? I thought it was a good back and forth game. It was surprisingly entertaining. Like to all confessions, I was not gonna watch this game. And then I was watching the scores. Like I need to go back and watch this game. Ace, you have a quarterback, man. What do you have this guy hiding? Where is this guy?
I like Brandon Allen. Don't get me wrong. Like I kind of shredded him. I think that first game where he only had like 80 yards at one point in the fourth quarter. But before that game, I did a review on him on my channel, which like cut the tape on looking at him in the Broncos, and I was like, this guy's pretty solid. He's not bad. Like Quincy has said before, he's won with other teams before. So when I found out that Brandon Allen was playing, I wasn't shocked in this game. Even though Ryan Finley got the big upset, the better of the two quarterbacks has always been Brandon Allen. Did I expect Brandon Allen to almost throw for 400 yards this weekend, though? No, that was a very pleasant surprise in this game. And I think, Sonny, you hit the nail on the head. This was an entertaining game. Like, even for me, like there have been some Bengals games where I just have not, even as a Bengals fan, wanted to watch them. But the Steelers game and this game were very entertaining games because you got to see a lot of action in this game. You saw a lot of scoring. There were all kind of plays that came down to the last minute. The thing that impressed me the most in this game, I can't believe that I'm saying this, Zach Taylor's play calling. I was kind of shocked with how well he handled that game. He's really finally started to establish the run, and he's doing it with guys not named Joe Mixon. Seeing that they were able to do this with Samaje Perine, who I actually was a fan of going all the way back to his college tape, but obviously he's been a cast off with the Redskins, with the Dolphins, and with us. You know, Samaje Perine is averaging 7 yards a carry. Then you got Gio doing his thing, Travion. And then the other thing that was exciting in this game was T. Higgins. You know, he's been one of the lone bright spots outside of Joe Burrow for this team this season. The fact that I didn't even know, because of everything going on, this has been such a bad season, that he was going to break the rookie Bengals reception record. So that's something that Chad hasn't done, something that AJ hasn't done. He breaks Chris Collinsworth's record during the game, and it was exciting. And he made crazy catches. That crazy touchdown highlight catch that he made was just amazing. It was a coming out party for him. AJ Green as well. He was able to do his thing. Tony, you had something to say?
I was going to say T. Higgins also leads the AFC North in receiving now.
Yes, T. Higgins, yeah. Believe it or not, on his way, I think 91 or 92 yards away from 1,000 yards receiving. Drew Sample, who I have clowned openly, got his first touchdown of the season. I don't know what is.
Wait, what?
Yes, Drew Sample scored a touchdown. Yes, second year.
I was surprised he hadn't scored one already.
16. It's sample season. Nah, I don't like Drew Sample. I was just being funny. But this offense was humming. The defense did have some issues. Like, it was weird because they were playing solid, but they couldn't get home. And then William Jackson goes down. And at one point, Brandon Allen was out playing Deshaun Watson. I was like, how is this happening? There's no way that this is happening. And then William Jackson III gives up a big play to Brandon Cooks. Brandon Cooks went crazy, and he was on my fantasy team. So I was like, all right, I don't want him to go off on us, but my fantasy team will take it. But William Jackson III goes down, and after that, it's just open season on our secondary. Literally, Deshaun is just hitting everything. And you're thinking as a Bengals fan, you're on a roller coaster, because I was cool with winning last week. But this week, I'm like, we're gonna lose that third spot if we do this. And ironically, it was against the Texans, who owned the 5th pick, but it was traded to Miami. And so I'm sitting there having a mix of emotions, because I'm like, yes, this looks good. But then I'm like, no, this is gonna move us to 6 or 7. So I think that there was a roller coaster of emotions for most Bengals fans. But at this point in the season, it's been so rough. And I know, and I'm not trying to take shots or anything, but I know Browns fans, you guys know what I'm talking about. It's been a long season, and it's like at some point you just want some wins. Like, by any means necessary, you just want some wins. I wasn't even feeling motivated to drop any deep dive videos or anything before that Steelers game. And this gave me that motivation. And I think you kind of had a lot of Bengals fans that were just like, hey, let's just win. And so now I'm at the point where let's just let the chips fall where they may. But Zach Taylor coached a hell of a game. Brandon Allen, this guy is looking like the guy that needs to be the permanent backup going forward. And if I'm a Ravens fan, if you're listening, you might want to be worried. This isn't that show, but you might want to be worried about the upcoming matchup.
We'll talk about that on Thursday, but let me go to some super chats before I go here with Q. Misfit has a super chat here, says, I think you should read this, Ace.
Hey, Ace, who they think gonna beat them Bengals? Nobody. Hashtag dog check. Shout out to you guys as well.
Okay.
I think I had a Browns fan after we beat the Steelers. He actually came onto my live and he was like, "I'll give you a who they. I'll give you a who they. Whenever it comes to beating the Steelers, we can click up. So I'll give you a dog check back for sure."
So here from Still Faces, Tony, do you like that comeback the Steelers did? Oh, Tony's gonna get into that very soon.
Yes, I did.
And then we have one more super chat somewhere here. There you go. Baker had to throw 53 times. The O-line could not open up lanes for the run, much less protect Baker. Okay, stay grad looking to see Mason get blown up Sunday.
Oh, sorry.
Happy New Year to y'all. Dog check. That's fine. I had it here also.
A lot of Brown fans excited to see Mason.
Yeah, man.
It's the Mason Rudolph revenge game. Remember, I mean, this is
Mason.
We better not talk all this garbage just to lose to Mason Rudolph. I mean, we can't do all this just to pull a Steelers Week 17 last year.
That is true.
All right,
that is true.
Like we going like I would spare it, bro. Like win the game. That's all I'm on.
So here from Timo Michael, a European guy. I would consider myself. I don't know if I would consider myself European.
You're European
now.
European.
I live in Europe now. Simpson Love and some euros from Germany.
Appreciate it.
To you all, and I was missing Tony Tuesdays.
Yeah, I sorry about that. I was not on Locked On Steelers the last 2 weeks. I will be back on next week's show. I literally just got back home like an hour and a half before we started recording today. So I'll be back next. Yeah, I'll be back next week.
And Marcus Jordan with this, so I'm gonna go with Q. But Marcus Jordan says, Tony, how do you feel about Big Ben calling plays at the line of scrimmage? I think that our OC needs to open up the playbook so we can run more.
And yeah, interesting what's happening here. We'll talk about that. But what's the difference between what happened, right? The question really for Steeler fans right now is what happened in the second half of that game? What changed? Fundamentally speaking, why did this offense go from being just completely inept for the last couple weeks to all of a sudden looking like it did mid-season? I don't know that running the ball more is necessarily going to be a factor in that, but I will certainly get to that when we talk about the Steeler game.
Okay, Q, what is your Q? You want to talk about? Okay, Q, what is your take with the Bengals game?
Bengals are a better team than most people thought they were, especially like when they were going through that streak of just losses. They lost Joe Burrow. It looked like they were going to go like 2 wins. Bengals were never that bad of a team. They were just mismanaged for quite a while. Maybe Zach Taylor's turned the corner behind the scenes. I'd be wary of that just because I've been a Browns fan for a long time. I've seen stuff like Eric Mangini happen at the end of the year where he gets like a 4-game win streak at the end of the season, keeps his job. The next year, it's more the same. So it's interesting to see there. This is a Bengals team that, to their credit, as rough as it's been, Joe Burrow not being in there has not given up all season, continues not to give up. If I can say, Deshaun Watson, I think he's a really good player, but like, how is he still an MVP candidate at this point, right? Like this team, I hear it. People.
Yeah. I've seen this too.
Yeah, and it's like, dog, like, I hear a lot of people talk about a lot of other quarterbacks putting up empty stats. Is this not the definition of empty stats where you're putting up all these numbers and you're winning 3 games? I get the Texans aren't good, but like, come on, transformational quarterback, MVP candidate quarterback, he's supposed to be above 500. I don't get it. I think people, I think they're giving them too many excuses on that front. But Brandon Allen showed up. I like what the Bengals are doing here. I hope they don't put themselves too far out of position. But who knows? Maybe they might find a way to be competent and get somebody good for them wherever they land. And you never know with the offensive lineman. You might think an offensive lineman is going to go number 1 overall, number 3. He might be the best offensive lineman prospect in 10, 20 years. And then he runs like a crappy 40 time and everybody sours on him. Like that's exactly what happened to Jedrick Wills.
Brown.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened to Jedrick Wills, Orlando Brown, all these guys.
Andre Smith.
What's his name? Andre Smith had the most hilarious 40 time of all time. All time hilarious. But some things were just floppy. But it was another one. Laramie Tunkel fell. Jack Conklin went above him.
Yeah, David Castro fell far in that draft too. I mean, it wasn't like super
you never
far,
know.
Yeah.
You never know with offensive linemen. You can always get where you need to, and maybe they might make a move here, feel some sense of urgency. This probably seals the deal. Zach Taylor's not going anywhere. somewhere. I don't know if that's going to be good or bad, but third year Zach Taylor, they're probably going to run that thing out to the 5th year because that's how long his contract is. I think he has a 4-year deal. So you're kind of stuck in that. But, he's turning out to show that he's a decent quarterback, coach. I mean, give him credit for the last 2 weeks. Ryan Finley coaches him well enough to have a good enough game to not turn the ball over against the Steelers and win that game when he could have easily blew it. This week, Brandon Allen's been playing much better. You got to give him credit. This is a quarterback coach specialist. He was a quarterback coach in L.A. He was pretty good while he was there, and he continues to do good work with quarterbacks. And maybe it's more than just Joe Burrow showing up. Maybe he's actually having a part of that when Joe Burrow was playing well at the beginning of the season. So maybe there were things I wasn't giving him credit on that he deserves credit for. All in all, if you're the Bengals, look, I wouldn't worry too much about winning, losing, wherever your draft position is going to be. It's going to be a crapshoot anyways. Just do what's good for your locker room culture, because I think that's the most important thing right now. And it looks like the culture in the locker room is getting a lot better. It's starting to solidify itself. And I think once you get Joe Burrow back, you could probably get some offensive linemen here and there to, make it not dire of a situation like it's been this year. And then who knows, this is a team that I think can easily become a 10-win team next year if they put the right pieces in the right spots.
Okay, so here, before I go to Tony, John with a big super chat saying Lou and Turner need to go and get thrown into a dumpster, though.
Yep. You guys ever watch Fresh Prince? When his friend Jazz comes over, that's what the Bengals have to do to Lou Anarumo and Jim Turner. Throw him out like Jazzy Jeff.
Thank you for that big super chat, John. And
it's like before every show, Ace just gets like one of those like Wheel of Fortune wheels, and it's like whichever coach it lands on, that's the one he wants fired this week.
It's easy. You could really
Lou
play Russian roulette with that.
Here. Lou has been consistent for Ace, but fun fact.
No, he was good with Lou about a couple weeks ago.
He was consistent against the Steelers, and then he got the doors blown off of his defense against the Texans.
Again, the Steelers' problems offensively are not opponent related. I mean, so.
David Johnson just had a field day out of nowhere, and it was like, wow. All right.
So the fun fact that I was going to say is Fresh Prince was one of the shows that helped me learn English. Fun fact with that. Oh, nice. So, Tony, what is your take on this game?
Well, I'll be honest. I did not watch a second of this game. I was, as I was still vacationing, I didn't get a chance to see any of this game at the bar I was at. But I will say this: I was offended, as all Steeler fans were offended, that Ryan Finley, who put up one of the greatest Bengals performances of all time, then just benched the next week, just to dig the knife a little deeper on Steeler fans. Oh, that guy who just ran 23 yards on touch for a touchdown and beat you guys? Yeah, he's benched now. We don't even need him. He's not even any good. Thanks, appreciate it.
So what you're saying, Tony, is the Bengals basically put the second tier QB because they thought, we're not gonna win. Let's just, and then Vanilla Big comes in and just destroys crushes your dream for at least 1 week. But the one big thing I will say with this game, I said this last week, Zach Taylor was not gonna lose their job after beating the Steelers. But more importantly, something that has been consistent with Zach Taylor is the team has been playing hard. Oh, I know the rumblings behind the scenes, and we have Dunlap has been playing great for Seattle, and we know the Geno Atkins drama, AJ Green drama. Looks like the veterans, he's not good with the veterans. Maybe because those veterans, have deep roots in that locker room because it is their locker room. They've been there for all the bad years, the rebuilds or the good times too, right? So they had that cachet. And maybe Zach Taylor was like, nah, miss me with that. It's my team. And I can get that from Zach Taylor for a little bit, especially if he wants to, control that team a little bit more, being the head coach. But the rest of the team has been playing hard. And it's something that, look, what games had the Bengals really been blown out? Well, there was the one Ravens game and there was the one Steelers game. Other than those two games, I cannot remember. They played tough against the Browns both games. And I think every week – but I think every week we come here like, oh yeah, well, it was a close game with the Bengals, right? Especially when Burrow was there. But even after Burrow left, we thought like, oh, they're done. No, they still here consistently playing hard. And that is a testament with Zach Taylor. Now, I will say I'm still not super fan of the guy, but it's something. It could be just the players that they have drafted. They just had their character, right? But still,
that's something that you hit on because one thing that the Bengals do behind the scenes, they do this weird like interview that they have with all of their players. And I think the science to it is figuring out which guys really just love the game of football. Like not people that are just football players because it gives them, a nice paycheck or something like that. But they're huge on guys that love football. So I think that also plays into it as well. But you're right. You never heard any of them speak out against Zach Taylor. But these guys, I talked to Carl Lawson. I think it was before the Steelers game. So you can thank me for that motivation, Tony, before that game there. But these guys just love football. Like, even if like they're going out and the season is going bad, they're not going to be the kind of guys that like kind of give up because, their job could be on the line, whether it's Gio, whether it's any of these guys, they're going to ball out for whoever. But I think you're right. Like you have to think about it at the same time and say, is it possible that they have guys in that locker room that are behind Taylor? I think that's a valid question and a valid statement to bring up.
So before I go to the super chat, the last thing I will say is, to be fair, also to Taylor, they knew Texans were not good against the run. They ran the ball well. Also, the O-line for the Texans, for all the investment that they had made, right? First round pick 2 years ago, trading 2 firsts for Tunsil. That O-line still kind of soft. And the Bengals were there. I mean, the Bengals D-line, we talk about them being good. Obviously, they lost some pieces, but the guys that are there, they're still hustling, right?
Tunsil actually got hurt in this game, so he was there, and then he got hurt, and they took him out of the game.
You're right, but even with Tunsil, they have been finicky, right? Which is crazy because, in theory, they have been spending 3 first-round picks because they don't have the next 2 on the 2 tackles, and there's still that O-line. You would think with all that investment will be top-notch, like I would say, like the Browns, but now they're not even close to that. Let me go to this super chat so we can go to the Ravens game. Quincy, do you think Joe Woods is the long-term answer at DC? And if not, who will you take if available that isn't too toxic to the culture?
I'm assuming he's ruling out Greg Williams.
Nah, who's ruling out is Matt Patricia because that's who people have been suggesting.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Mr. I'm 4-10 talking about something. I wrote up the play in the Super Bowl. This is idiot. You never trust somebody who carries around a laminate sheet and a pencil. What? He's a gimmick. That's a joke, bro. But yeah, Joe Woods, God, I mean, like, it's not been good. And you know what? Like, I tried to be passive on Joe Woods. I tried to not blame as much on Joe Woods because he did not get like a full deck when it comes to the players that he has had on that secondary for a good amount of times. But some of the issues that you're seeing, and I'm going to talk about this when I talk about the Browns game, but it's communication stuff in week 16. It's your defensive backs can't stop running into each other in week 16. I can't think that's not coaching related. So yeah, he's probably gonna have to go if the Browns don't find a way to win this game on Sunday. Yeah, Joe Woods is gone. He's gone. He might be able to get away with firing a defensive back coach if they get to the playoffs, but somebody's got to go. Something's got to change. It's been that bad. Who's available that isn't too toxic? I mean, there's no way we're going to be able to get Wink Martindale, right? Like, that's not happening, right? We're not going to be able to lure him away with some money. But probably going to do something stupid like bring in Lou Anarumu, right? Like, so, who knows?
Yeah. There's actually been talk in Pittsburgh about Terrell Austin, who's been our secondary coach. Well, I know. Exactly.
Yes,
that's what all Steelers fans said. When Terrell Austin got hired in Pittsburgh, every Steelers fan went, "Oh no!" But he's actually been good for the Steelers secondary. He's a defensive assistant. He's getting talk of maybe if Butler were to retire, he would take over. But I would imagine that he might get looks around the league as taking over as DC somewhere else if Butler doesn't retire.
Okay, here another super chat from Dismiss. Sorry, my bad that I mispronounced that, but shout out to you. Thank you for the donation. Here's a tip for all the entertainment. Thanks, guy. Steeler Nation in Alaska. So there's the Steeler. Let me say something. There's a Steeler fan everywhere in the world. It feels like. Anyway,
they travel well. They travel.
Yeah, they don't travel. They don't travel. They just live there.
To be fair, the guys in Alaska, like, he probably only gets Steelers game. Like that's what they put on there. You know
Steelers
what I mean?
And Cowboys, right?
It comes straight out the pipeline. It just
you don't want to play the crap games though. You got to play the best stuff.
Steelers have one.
You know what they say? Play the hits.
Okay. Let me segue here to the Ravens. The Ravens game was probably, now I ain't happy about this, but it was probably the less entertaining of the games. This game, the Ravens started quick, and then they took it slower. But for the most part, this game never felt like, my wife was like, you've been watching the scores for the Browns and the Steelers, and you don't feel excited for this Ravens team. I said, like, first 2 drives, touchdown. They feel like so in cruise control in this game. Danny Dimes had some decent passing gains, and it was because, look, the Ravens secondary right now is decimated. I think my theory has been saying in this for a couple weeks. I think Peters has been probably good to play, but still Nick. And they feel like we don't need him against the Jaguars. We don't need him against the Giants. And I think the same thing is for Jimmy Smith. I was surprised that Calais Campbell came in a very limited snaps, but he came. The D-line was playing fairly good, although the pressure generating, and this is the Ravens fans will say, oh, we got 6 sacks. 6 sacks basically were because of the blitz. We blitz, and that's how we get the pressure and the sacks. But as soon as we sack, obviously Daniel Jones was looking like he looked like he had fear, right? He wasn't running. There's rumors that he's still hurt. That's why he wasn't running. And that could be it, and that's fair. We did have some bonehead plays, like the second touchdown that they had. We had them at 4th and 22, and Justice Hills, for some reason, decides to just go and hit the punter for no. He wasn't even close to block that punt, but he hit it. And then obviously first down. And then after that, there were a couple more penalties that kept the drive alive. And then they eventually scored a touchdown. But this game was, again, it felt like it was in cruise control. Des Bryant gets a touchdown. As Quincy likes to call him Boo Boo Brown, he gets a touchdown. The running attack was firing up, which it was good to see because the Giants do present a fairly good D-line. That is their strong suit, that D-line. They have a lot of beef there. The secondary, not so much, but Lamar he had a lot of good throws. And like I said, the running attack was still fairly strong, really, really good. So the Ravens came in, they cruised to W. And I think the main thing that I took from this game is they back-to-back opponents that they're not good, right? Jaguars and Giants. But they had not let their guard down. They knew these opponents were not good, but they know they need to win, which for me is important because we're going to the Bengals and they need to win that game as well. So I like that they haven't taken any opponent lightly and they had come strong, especially offensively, they had come strong. Defensively, they're missing a lot of parts. So on the passing attack, they have been a little bit softer. The question is for next week, and then we'll talk about that next week, are they going to bring, just so they don't mess with that, Peters and Jimmy Smith for this game? We'll see. But overall, I think the Ravens just cruised to this victory. Ace, what do you think about this game?
I think the Ravens went ahead and took care of business, but I think Jacksonville took care of business too. I think the most entertaining part of this game was when the Ravens were scoring and Jags fans were cheering because they all but secured Trevor Lawrence. And
this is New York. That was last week. The Jags.
Oh, the same thing. They played 2 bad teams in a row. Was it the Jags or the Giants? Why is he talking about Daniel Jones?
My bad. But I think the Ravens just took care of business. They were going against the Giants. I'm sorry. But the Giants actually did have something to fight for in this game.
Yeah.
But I think Lamar just had one of his best games of the season. 4 total touchdowns, 1 interception. He's back on script. I think that was 2 or 3 weeks ago. I was like, this is a great Lamar Jackson game. I think this one is. He has 4 total touchdowns. He's doing what he has to do. Ravens are taking care of business. They're doing what they have to do to get to these playoffs. It's going to make things very interesting. I'm not surprised. I also like that they're getting Dobbins more involved. When I was watching on Red Zone, I saw them giving him more carries and stuff like that, phasing out Mark Ingram a little bit, which I think is pretty much what they want to do. I did see that our boy Hollywood Brown caught a touchdown as well. So they were rolling on all cylinders. I mean, it just is what the Ravens needed to do. But I am laughing because the Jags, I don't know who they were playing now, but I just remember
they're playing the Bears. Yeah,
they were playing the Bears. They were just like cheering
when
the Bears were scoring on them. That was hilarious.
Yeah. So to be fair, one thing, just to clarify, Mark Ingram has been a healthy scratch the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Because
he should.
When he got injured and Harbaugh, one thing I'm not here to criticize Harbaugh, but one thing that Harbaugh is in my opinion, he's too loyal to his guys. And Mark Ingram became his guy. As soon as Mark Ingram got injured, the offense, the running attack flew way better. And since he got healthy, basically he determined like you're gonna be a healthy scratch. Well, he activated him for 1 game. After that, healthy scratch for the rest. And Gus and Ingram and Jacob, look, they're basically getting the same amount of carries. Gus took 15, J.K. took 11, but that 1-2 punch is pretty good right now. Plus Lamar, it's been solid. Q, what do you thought about this game, man?
Yeah, Gus Edwards been better than he wasn't that much better than Mark Ingram. I've always thought Gus Edwards got way too little carries in that Ravens offense. He was always a big guy, especially that last year when he got back into shape, got all that body fat off of him. He was really good, averaging like 6 yards a carry. So I'm glad to see him just on the personal standpoint being able to succeed on that. But the Ravens, I've said this for a couple of weeks now, they've got it together. They stopped playing around. They're looking like the 2019 Ravens. They're not as deep as that team was at tight end or, at receiver. Well, it's the same team at receiver. But, it is what it is on that front. But, again, it takes – when I talk about the Ravens, I said they were like a 12-4 team. They're probably going to go 11-5, right? That's what you guys can go, 11-5. Yeah. And, they have issues that only a handful of teams can make issues, right? Like there's only a handful of teams that can do it, that are equipped enough to do those things. But if you're not one of those teams, you're going to get rolled. And that's what the Ravens do. If you're not one of those teams that can stop the Ravens, or you're not playing at a level to stop the Ravens, you're going to get rolled. And the Ravens continue to do and take care of business like they're supposed to, because they've been here before. And, if the Ravens get into the playoffs, they get in here this year. I see a lot of Browns fans making those jokes about Lamar not winning in the first round. That ain't happening this year. They're going to make a run this year. Like, this looks like an AFC Championship Super Bowl level team. They're getting hot at the right time. Like, I would watch the Ravens. I think they're the hottest team there. And I think, there are a lot of teams, Buffalo, who doesn't want to see them in the playoffs. I don't think Kansas City would want to see them again. Tennessee and Indy definitely don't want to see them. If I'm the Browns, it don't matter. You don't see them unless they make the AFC Championship anyways. So, and the Steelers don't want to see them back healthy. Nobody wants to see a division rival 3 times, though. Like that's
you don't. That's true. You don't. No, I don't want to see the Browns a 3rd time either.
Yeah, nobody wants to see a division rival the 3rd time. We'll get to that when we talk about what the Steelers are going to do on Thursday, even though they come out and said they're going to bench Ben. But Ravens taking care of business. They look real good. We'll see what they do next week. But if they continue this path on into the playoffs, they're going to be a team to watch.
Tony.
There's another one I didn't see any of, although I will talk about in a second when we talk about the Steeler game, that I did not get to see any of the first halves of these games at all. The Ravens was one I caught the score of at halftime, and it was already 20-3. I was surprised to see they didn't run it up as much. But yeah, I don't have much to say about this game because I didn't see any of it.
Yeah, in the 3rd quarter, the Ravens basically went in cruise control. It looked more like they were just trying different things, and on defense they were letting the ball move a little bit too much. They were going to zone. Humphrey left the game for a little bit there too. He came back, but
yeah. And then this is look, this is a Giants team that you go up even a touchdown, 10 points, that game is over. Daniel Jones and that offense is not moving the football right now.
Yeah, their strong suit is definitely on defense. Richard Gonzalez, shout out to you, brother. Thank you for the super chat. Browns, Steelers, and Ravens will be in AFC North. I don't disagree with that statement.
We'll talk about it on Thursday, but I think that's right. I don't see any of these teams missing, but weird things can happen as we'll soon talk about.
Okay, so let's segue to the Steelers game. Look, this was a game, right? Because I did watch the first half, and I was like, oh my god! Like I was score watching, and I was telling my wife, like, effing Steelers. They're losing. The one game that I needed to win, but I was like, whoa, but maybe I take the L with the Steelers because the Browns are losing as well. Look at that Jets. And I was doing the GETS chants over there. And then the Steelers came back and won and took care of business. But anyway, you know what? Ace, what do you think about this game?
Juju officially has tied his number. No, he's got 97 TikToks now because he did the one afterwards. So he had 96 receiving yards in this game. I was doing the same as you were doing, Sonny. I was looking at it, and when I saw the Steelers down early, I was like, ooh, this is bad for them. The Steelers are imploding. And I did become a Colts fan. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I was like, okay, let's go. And then I was just looking at the Browns, and I'm like, come on, Browns, what's going on? Come on. We need you guys to win this division. And then slowly but surely, you start to see it happen. So you start to see Ben get in a mode with his receivers. You see Deontay Johnson going off. You see Juju going off. And the next thing you know, the Steelers are up. The Colts still had a chance to win this game, and they just fizzled out. I don't know what happened with Phillip Rivers, but he fizzled out. and the Steelers came back and got a huge win and won the North, and we all had to be. When is Juju going to learn his lesson? So he comes out and says that he's not TikToking anymore before the games, and then after the Steelers come back and win, now we're getting TikToks from the locker room.
Dog, you win though. Very different. Very. Is
that a COVID fine?
It's not the logo. It's not the logo.
Fine for that.
There's a big Steeler logo in the locker room.
Yeah, but not
Juju gets you got like I think someone said on Twitter that the second strike that they had for doing something like that in the locker room, they took away a draft pick.
Oh, I know. Hey, listen, if they take a draft pick, look, we're not going to go there because again, we want to talk about the Ravens got as their punishment. Yeah, exactly. We don't want to go there. The NFL is undefeated when it comes to making absolutely terrible decisions with stuff like this. Undefeated, but we're not going to go there.
Right. Cool. But Steelers took care of business. You got to give them their credit. They had a loss to the Bengals on Monday night. They had another rough loss to the Redskins. So they had to come out and win this game. They took care of business, and they showed that they could come back against a good team. I mean, the Colts are a good team. They have a winning record, and they had their backs up against the wall. Ben bounced back, and the Steelers bounced back. But I was hoping that the Colts won. So just putting that out there.
Okay, cute.
You know what? I said it last week. I just did not feel like this was possible, that the Steelers were going to bottom out like this. I remember Tony did not believe it when I was saying it. I was like, there's no way that they're going to bottom out like this. They're going to come back and win this game against Indy because there's no way that the Steelers actually, like, this is how it ends for them. And I feel like sometimes Big Ben does this on purpose because he's thinking back. He's like, what can I make this year more legendary? Okay, I'm going to stink for 3 games and then just turn it on for the last game that matters in the season to get this thing so I could tell these haters to get off my back. That's what Big Ben does, right? Beefing with Randy Fichtner, I don't know what it is. He's definitely pushing that narrative. Big Ben's people have been putting it out there, the Randy Fichtner beef. This is another story in that beef where he's just like, yeah, took your whole playbook that's been holding me back and just did it myself.
So Big Ben.
Big Ben taking all the credit. Like most of the time, quarterbacks go up.
He didn't say anything after this. He didn't say anything after this game.
Yeah,
he didn't say it.
He didn't say it, but we know how it got out. We know how it got out.
Mm-hmm.
We know
it got out. I'm just saying he didn't. He wasn't the one this time.
We have learned from the Antonio Brown days that okay, these things get out for a reason, right? And we know who gets them out. So magically,
okay, keep going.
Yeah, I don't think Randy Fichtner leaked that one out there, or Mike Tomlin leaked it out. I don't think the coaching staff leaked out that Big Ben went rogue. I think that's definitely Big Ben or one of the wide receivers who love Big Ben leaking that out on his behalf. That's definitely one of those things. But you know what? Hey, when you cook so you can do whatever you want, right? You can say, I threw out the cookbook. I don't need your trash instructions. I'm Big Ben. I've been doing this longer than you. He's doing all that stuff. So congratulations to Big Ben for being Big Ben. There's no way I thought they were going to actually give up the North and allow. I didn't think that was going to happen. So, you know what? Good on the Steelers. I felt like also one thing that I knew just could not be as bad as it was for the last few weeks was the defensive line play. Like, I just did not feel like Cam Hayward had just, like, aged off the cliff. Like, I didn't think that had happened yet, as good as he'd been playing earlier in the season. So, he came back. Everybody came back. Defense came back. You know what? When you can move the ball a little bit with that defense, Steelers look really good. But the question is this consistent or is this a one-game thing? Indy, not a team that's been a great closer this season, I think we can say. They have let some games go by them. And they have been one of those questionable 10-win teams, I guess, if you can say that. Phillip Rivers continues to, have good games, have bad games, and have good halves, have bad halves. But, Steelers did what they needed to do. They got the North crown. There's no asterisk on it. They did it. They did what they were supposed to do. As much as they like to give Browns fans hope by losing to the Bengals, you knew they weren't going to actually do this for us, right?
I thought the Browns had a shot.
Nah, I didn't think. I didn't think we would lose to the Jets, which we'll get to. But like, I didn't think there would be a chance in hell that the Steelers would actually like be like, "Yo, we're gonna get to week 17."
The first half of this game, though, it looked like exactly what we said going in, which is that this offensively is as bad as they come, and it's unfixable. And then the defense started to capitulate. So I think the first half of this game played out like a lot of Steelers fans' nightmares.
And at this point, I actually got to wonder, like, is this like an over dramatic thing with the whole Randy Fichtner, Ben thing, or is this actually real? Like, is this actually what's going on? Because the difference is so drastic that I actually think this is actually going on, that Ben is openly telling his players, yo, the offensive coordinator is holding me back. And Ben is so powerful in that organization that it's like, yeah, Ben, you are being held back by Randy Fichtner. How about you just go out there and not run his plays? That is amazing. That is amazing clout that Ben has in that organization. Not a lot of people can pull that one.
Let me go to Super Chat before I go to Tony. Anime Tree says, I have no problem with Browns playing, but the NFL needs consistency with rules. Say coaches not failing, I'm assuming following protocol or fake games and then delay, but other. Like, I have heard so much of this.
One thing I'll say, though, it's week 16 at this point, man. Like, hopefully we don't have to do this next year.
Hopefully not.
It is what it is at this point.
Okay, but here's what I want to know. One thing I will just throw out for the NFL. Is it really gonna happen that we could end up in a situation where, let's say, the Friday before the AFC Championship game, Patrick Mahomes is exposed, right? Not necessarily he's on the list, right? Not necessarily he has it, but he was close contact. Are we not delaying the game? We're not delaying the game. We're going to play it. Really, NFL? You really setting that precedent? I don't think you are. I don't think you are going to play the game if someone like that comes down with it. But we'll see. We'll see.
No, it's only if Lamar gets it right. That's what the internet tells me.
Hey, Lamar missed the game. Lamar did miss the game. Anyway, the M-Rob says, out of all the AFC hunt, who deserves it least? I think if you're in the hunt, you all deserve it, to be honest. If you're in the hunt,
I don't know if the Raiders are still in it, but if the
Raiders are not, no, it's Dolphins.
No, it's the Dolphins. It's definitely the Dolphins. Like,
they've got an interesting case, though.
The Browns made an interesting case this week, but you know what? Like, in all seriousness, they lost to the Jets, but they had a reason, at least, that they lost to the Jets. It wasn't like, you inexplicably, with all your starters, lost to the Bengals on Monday Night Football. Like, it's a little bit different than that. But, for the Dolphins, I don't think they really. You watch the Dolphins play. Do you think they're one of the teams that are in? Like, do you think they would beat Indy?
No, they're the eighth seed or whatever, right? I mean,
they out here with the 2-quarterback system. Like, this is definitely flukish stuff that the most flukish stuff I've ever seen. And then even when Tua's out there, Tua doesn't look good. Like,
well, that's
it's
why
not
the QB system, right?
Yeah, it's a wildcat quarterback system that they're running over there.
Yeah, Tim Tebow had his moments.
Get a closer. NFL needs a closer, right? Ravens could use a closer.
Oh, yeah. Okay. The Trip here. Shout out to you, Trip. I didn't see Baker had the same talent. I said similar. 2 good RBs, 1 good TE.
Please stop.
Receivers that can't separate.
Such offensive line. Yeah. All right, first of all, no. I'm going to dismantle this.
Undeniable.
First of all, thank you. Thank you. First of all, yeah, we derailing. We derailing. I'm taking this off the rails right here. I'm dismantling. Keep this super chat up, Trev. I love you. I love that you send super chats consistently, but I got to tear this one up, baby. 2 good running backs. Okay. You got that one. The Browns did have 2 good running backs. 1 good tight end. If we're comparing Austin Hooper, who drops like 3 balls a game, to Mark Andrews, who's one of the most productive tight ends in football, I think that's a little bit of a stretch there, but whatever. Wide receivers that can't separate, boy, is that an understatement. Okay, like, we know the Ravens don't have great NFL wide receivers, but at least they're NFL wide receivers. We don't even know if the dudes the Browns have belong in the league. You know what? There's another reason the NFL's COVID protocols are trash. They just now changed the rules so you can get your practice squad guys in there if you need be, or if you get somebody. They got rid of that 6-day quarantine.
They got rid of it. Yeah.
Practice squad players. You know where that would have been real helpful? Getting the Browns with somebody who's ever taken a snap with the organization. We couldn't get Derek Willis in there, not even Ryan Switzer in there because of these rules. No, we got Jamarcus Brantley, who don't even got a highlight tape from college on the internet, and Marvin Hall. All right, so that's nowhere near similar. Tight end, wide receivers, nowhere near similar. Sus offensive line. Please, no. You're not going to compare the Browns going out there with their backup center, who's the third string guard, who's undersized, and Kendall Lamb, the third string left tackle, to whatever the Ravens were doing. You're not going to compare that. We're not going to compare those two things.
To be fair, Q, in the Pittsburgh game, we did came out with our third center and a tackle that after that game got cut.
But your center actually played center.
Browns were lying.
No.
I guess he was
actually a center. Did he play center?
He was undrafted rookie, and I believe he played center in college. Yeah.
All right, we got our third string center playing right guard. He's 5'10", playing right guard in the NFL, getting stood up by a linebacker who I've never heard of from the Jets. Every play, he got bull rushed a couple of times. That's who's at right guard, bro. The whole offense goes behind the right guard also. It's nowhere near the same thing. Don't even try to convince me this is anywhere near similar. This is not similar. So I don't care.
Stefanski had quit Quincy before the show, and he was like, "Fan of the show, dog. You think you got about 3 hours that you can come and play receiver for us,
Bruh, for real? You got these guys off the street playing receivers in an offense that demands timing. Do you know how impossible of a situation it is to throw the ball in that kind of it's all timing routes. It's all it is in that offense. You have nobody that this man Baker Mayfield has ever taken a snap with in practice, and you got that out there, and you're comparing that to Marquise Brown and Duvernay? Are we I know y'all don't think much of y'all wide receivers.
Who's the one receiver that you guys kept? There was one receiver that didn't go on the list, right?
No, they were all gone. We have 5 wide receivers we keep active: Jarvis Landry, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Rashard Higgins, and
Darryl Hodge.
And Kadarius Hodge.
Browns those are the 4 we keep. They would have considered bringing back Antonio Callaway.
Those are the 4 we keep active, and then Marvin Hall is always a late game, like a healthy scratch.
All 4
of the active dudes. All 4 of the active dudes who ever take a snap on the offense, gone, bro, gone. Then we throw in a Harrison Bryant. We had to put Harrison Bryant in the slot. That's how bad.
So I think the point that the trip here is making is on the Steelers game, right? And we didn't have Mark Andrews in that game. We had our third center or practice squad center that we brought. We had a right tackle that was also brought from the practice squad that again got cut after the game, and it's not longer with the Ravens. And we didn't have Willie Snead for that game. We didn't have.
Willie Snead.
Wait,
I'm just saying.
Making that. Maybe I misread, but wasn't the trip comparing it to the actual Ravens roster, not the Ravens roster against the Steelers?
Well, so if he's comparing to the Ravens roster on a regular basis versus the Browns in that game, I agree with Quincy. A Ravens roster, the receivers, although people don't like to give credit, Marquise Hollywood Brown has some separation, right? He does have some separation. And I agree here with Quincy. They basically took some people out of the street and say, here's a jersey. Go try to attempt to run some routes, right? But anyway, I don't want to talk too much about the Browns game. Let me finish with the Steelers game here, and then let's just dive in.
We got to catch up on. We got super chat. We got to catch up.
Super chat.
Yes. So the trip here says, if the Browns don't get wide receivers back, I got the Steelers 17-14. They will be all back here. How healthy can we get before the playoffs, Sonny? I think that's what the Ravens have been doing with Marcus Peters and Jimmy Smith, and looks like Calais Campbell. They're just putting him with snaps now so they can be ready for the playoffs. So I think as healthy as we can be, obviously we have pieces that are just done for the year. But if we make the playoff, but I think we would, we're going to be as healthy as we have been probably since week 8. Marcus says, who is defensive player of the year? Look, I will say here, TJ Watt is making – I have been calling for Myles Garrett all year, but TJ Watt is definitely making his
better not
strongest
be no
case.
damn TJ Watt. Oh my God, it's
Strongest
TJ Watt
case.
is defensive player of the year.
Anyway, you guys want to put any names in the head?
To me, look, this is gonna be a derail, so I'm not gonna do it. But I will just say I'm a Steeler fan, so obviously I'm going to pick TJ. I think TJ's had a phenomenal year. But there's a lot of people in there. I mean, you can make a legit argument for Aaron Donald. You can make a legit argument for Mac. You can make an argument. You can still make an argument for Myles Garrett. I think it's getting a little weaker, but you can still make it. But yeah, there's a lot of guys in the running. I don't know.
To make the playoffs.
There's no runaway. There's no runaway defensive player of the year this year.
There's no runaway. I agree with you. Ace, who do you think, man?
It's tough because generally when you see this, they normally, unless it's like Stephon Gilmore, they normally, if it's defensive lineman, they kind of go with the sack leader. But I would say that it's actually probably Myles Garrett just because of the situation that Myles Garrett plays in, right? Like for TJ Watt to have 3 more sacks than him and play with, getting an incoming call from a Bengals player, believe it or not. But believe it or not, TJ Watt playing with Stephon Tuitt, playing with Bud Dupree and stuff like that, like that isn't even close to what Cleveland doesn't have anything close to that, right? So for it to be between those 3 guys, I think that's possibly what you have going on there. But I think the NFL in general is going to give it to TJ Watt because they're just going to go with whoever has the most sacks, right? But I think if you look at what Myles Garrett has done, and this is the guy that tried to say that the Bengals, if you take Carlos Dunlap, Carl Lawson, and all of them together, it equals better than Myles Garrett. I don't think that that's true anymore because he impacts that Browns defense. Him and Denzel Ward, that's like literally all they have, right? And I think that he has that big of an impact on that team to do it. Whereas if you put TJ Watt in that situation, I'm not saying that he's not going to thrive, but I don't know if he's going to have 12 sacks or something like that in that system. But I think that is going to go to TJ Watt because he's got 15 sacks. You can't give it to the guy who's the sack leader.
It's going to be Aaron Donald.
Aaron Donald.
Yeah, it's going to be Aaron Donald. I don't think TJ Watt's had that great of a year where they're going to give it to. They're just going to default to it. Okay, Aaron Donald. Did he have a decent year? All right, we're going to give it to Aaron Donald.
He's a beast.
I mean, it wouldn't be a bad choice if they gave it to Aaron Donald because I think honestly, Jared Goff
could be anybody else than Aaron Donald. I even think this with Myles. You have to have such a good year. You take it from Aaron Donald. As much like the MVP, you have to take it from Patrick Mahomes. Much like Aaron Rodgers is taking it this year. TJ Watt had a good year. Had a really good year. It's a good year, like in his standards, but like this hasn't been like the best of what I think TJ Watt can do in the NFL, and I think that's what it would take. I don't think it's fair, but it's just what it would take. Like it would have took Myles getting like 20 plus sacks to take it away from Aaron Donald, and that's just how they tend to vote on these things.
Yeah, I don't think. Look, if they want to give it to Aaron Donald, I'm not going to complain because he is the best defensive player in the NFL. There's no doubt.
Yes,
I think Watt's having a career year.
Okay, so let's Tony, go ahead, finish your thoughts with the Steelers, and then let's go with the Browns.
Yeah, no, okay, I'll try to keep it quick here on Steelers and Colts. Look, the Steeler fans, we all have the same question right now, which is, hey, what I just watched in the second half of that football game, was that real? Is that something that's going to continue happening, or was that just a blip, a second half that we'll remember forever, but we will forget about here. The Steelers will forget about here in 2 weeks when the playoffs start. I hope not. But I just want to say this, Steeler fans, let's just enjoy this moment. Let's just not just the division title because that's great, but the fact that Ben Roethlisberger had a career game at this point after the 2 weeks that we had just watched from him, 2 of his worst games of the season. And look like the end is near. We know the end is near for Ben, whether or not he retires after this season or next. I think he's only got at maximum 1 more year left. So just enjoy this moment. Enjoy what we just watched from him. It was vintage Ben Roethlisberger. But the question is right, which is what did I just watch? Was that real? Were you going to be able to watch this going forward, or is it going to go back to being this kind of pumpkin offense? It was a terrible first half. Everything we feared about this game going in, it was exactly that in the first half. The offense continued to struggle, could not move the football. Their opening game plan just does not work. And then the Colts were able to put up points early on in this football game, and I thought this game would be over by halftime. And check, right? I mean, the offense was terrible, the defense was giving up points, and the game looked like at halftime, while the Steelers did have 7 points, it was all based on a TJ Watt sack fumble and an easy score, and the offense had not done anything to that point to make you believe they were going to make back a 14-point deficit at halftime. So what changed at halftime? Well, we know the running game in Pittsburgh did not get, we talk about lost causes. I mean, the running game in Pittsburgh is a goner. we talked about Benny Snell last week having a nice game. He looked good. 6 carries, 0 yards in this game, 0 yards per carry. He had an awful game in this one. And, this team just can't get 1 yard. I joked about it on Twitter, but it's not even a joke at this point. If it's 3rd or 4th and 1, take a delay game. You have a better chance of getting the first down. Take a delay game. Make it 4th and 6, and then run a real play, because the idea that this team's going to run into a wall on 3rd or 4th and 1, it's a joke. And you watch Benny Snell try to run through the hole there. There's no hole A. B, he doesn't see it even if it is there. And D, he's too slow to get going to actually get the first down. The goal line failure in this game, another time where this team on the goal line, right? There's 5 chances to goal, goal to go situation in this game, could not get it. And you had the Chase Claypool drop there, which was a miserable drop by Claypool. And so it just looked like, all the hallmarks of this team were there. It was there to see. And then something changed, and it was Chef Ben. Chef Ben did return in this game. And we'll talk about him in a second, because I also want to give credit in the second half of this game to the defense, because this defense looked again in the second half of this game like a number 1 defense, like the defense we remember from midseason that were playing at such a high level. Obviously, last week a bit of an embarrassment when they got they allowed so much to Finley, including that 20-yard touchdown run. But after the Colts' first drive in the second half, this defense was lights out. Just 1 first down from the Colts until the Steelers had the lead. There was 3 and out after 3 and out, continuing to give this offense second and third chances, and the offense actually came through. TJ Watt was phenomenal in this game, 2 sacks in this game, bringing his total to 15 now on the year. James Harrison's Steeler record is 16, so he actually has a chance to break that or tie it this week against Cleveland if he plays. And Tomlin, we'll talk about that on Thursday, because Tomlin is talking about sitting starters going into this game. Watt's having a phenomenal year. I know Aaron Donald, look, we talked about Defensive Player of the Year, and Aaron Donald's certainly deserving of it, but look, Watt's got 73 pressures, which I believe is 3rd most in the NFL. He had 4 against the Colts. He has 43 stops, which is a PFF created stat, but it basically is, if success rate or a successful play. These are plays that he was involved in that were failures. He has 43 of those. No other edge rusher in the NFL has more than 35. And I think what that shows is not just that TJ Watt is good as a pass rusher, good against the run, good in coverage as well. He's having a great year. But I want to give a shout out as well to Alex Highsmith, right? Because Bud Dupree went down and Highsmith came in, doesn't have a sack yet in replace of Bud Dupree, but he was just as good as TJ in this game. Also had 4 pressures in this game. Alex Highsmith did, and he made his presence felt. The interception that Rivers threw in the second half was because Highsmith was there. Maybe got his arm on the ball a little bit, and that ball floated right into Mike Hilton's hands. So Highsmith is getting better, right? I joked about it with Ace on Twitter. The idea that he's a pressure king at this point, because all he has at this point is pressures. But
pressure daddy.
That's right. He's the pressure king so far for this team.
Walk before you can run.
And that's right. It's a leading indicator. The offensive line, I thought in the second half of this game, also phenomenal. And really, this was a big turning point for this entire offense, because the offensive line has been bad in weeks past, and it's been getting worse as this team knows that it needs to start doing these more intermediate, deep passes. Ben Roethlisberger is having less and less time to throw. Ben was pressured on just 9 dropbacks in this game. That's the least he's been pressured in a game since the second game against Baltimore, right? The start of this real run for the Steelers of poor play. They had 14 passes of 10-plus yards. In this game, they attempted 14 passes of 10-plus yards. That's the most that they've even attempted since Jacksonville. And if you look back at last week when they actually did try, they had 12 attempts of 10-plus yards. They tried to push the ball. Ben was pressured in that game 15 times last week. So 15 last week against a bad Cincinnati defensive line, and just 9 in this game against a much better Indianapolis defensive line. So credit to the offensive line. But this game, look, it was about Chef Benjamin, right? Chef Ben showed back up again. He wasn't cooking turnovers this week. He was cooking touchdowns. 23 of 29 in the second half of this game, 244 yards, 17-point comeback. And it's only the 3rd time in Steeler history that they've had a 17-point comeback in a game. It started with that 39-yard bomb to Deontay. And boy, what a play for us Steeler fans who have been hearing for weeks now that Ben's arm is the problem, that he physically cannot play the position anymore, and it is just over for him. And he proved that wrong with a great strike there. And then, of course, it ended with a nice 25-yard strike to Juju in the end zone. That was a very good play, because that goes back to what I was talking about with his ability to manipulate defenses. If you watch the all 22 of that play, it's a cover 2 beater. They're in cover 2. The Colts are. He pumps the dig route, gets the safety stuck in the ground, and then throws it over his head to Juju for the game winner. Look, it was a great game from Ben Roethlisberger, but the question still remains, right? Was it just Ben playing better? Was it just the offensive line playing better? Or is there something else going on? And is it just as simple as Quincy was talking about as play calling? Is this just a play calling problem or a tendency problem in Pittsburgh? Juju told Michael Silver after the game, this is a quote, Ben was great. The defense was really, the Colts defense was really good early on. They were calling out plays that they knew we were running, but Ben's mind is super creative. He was calling plays in the second half that we did not practice, just pulling things from the past. Now, yes, Quincy's laughing now, but and it is funny because this does play into that idea that like Ben is the real offensive coordinator. Ben should be calling the plays. It was corrected by Ebron and Claypool afterwards that they do practice these plays, but clearly what happened in the second half was not a part of the game plan, right? This wasn't a part of the script that Fichtner had. That stuff, as we've seen all year, this team, they're kind of script early on. They have not scored in an opening drive, and I don't even know the last time they've scored an opening drive, this offense. That clearly is not working. Now, Chase Young in the Washington game did say about the Steeler offense that Baltimore exposed some things. He said, I would say some tendencies of the offense and certain things they like to do out of different looks, Baltimore executed on, and I feel like we did too. And there is a problem in Pittsburgh right now where I think defenses do know what's coming. You look back at last week, we talked about the Von Bell hit on Juju, that crosser play that Von Bell knew was coming. Why did he know that play was coming? He didn't know it was going to be Juju, but he knew that play was coming, right? And it was going to be a crosser on 3rd and 7. That's what the Steelers do. You can go back and look at Steeler tendencies at times, and it is just so obvious what's coming. As a Steeler fan, I can sit at home, and I can pretty much tell you with a lot of accuracy whether or not it's going to be a run or a pass just by the formation and the situation that they're in. So I do think that there's some aspect of this that Ben Roethlisberger and Randy Fichtner need to get on the same page. Why is Ben able in no huddle to have such success? And we've seen this even through this stretch. Why is he able to have such success moving the football, right? We go back to Baltimore where he was drawing it in the dirt. Now in this game where Juju and the players are saying, yeah, Ben's out there calling it himself. Why is this offense so much better when Randy Fichtner's not calling the plays? I'm not saying Randy Fichtner's a bad offensive coordinator, but him and Ben need to get on the same page as far as what is Ben seeing that Fichtner is not. Figure that out, and maybe this team can make a run in the playoffs. Now, I know you're all probably expecting me to put the chef hat on today, and I probably should put the chef hat on, but I think we need to retire the chef hat for a bit because it's time to crown King Benjamin, the king of the North.
Oh, my
Welcome,
God.
everyone. The rightful king of the North is back.
Oh, my God.
Yes, I love.
Oh, my God. And the Dollar Tree store crown. Okay, let me get through
Tony, I've never really noticed it, but is it Henry VIII? Striking similarity. Striking.
You know, I didn't want to jinx it, so I did not buy this crown until after the Steelers won the game. This is the only one on Amazon that could get here by Tuesday. So it'll happen.
Shout out Sonny's Raven chain. I feel like you should bring it back out now, man.
It's hiding there.
They'll lose to the Bengals. Don't do it.
It's hiding in the corner. Anyway, let's get to the super chat so we can get in this bonus coverage to the Browns. Okay, who do you say wins Coach of the Year? I want to say Stefanski win it because of the first year he had, but I think that just lost confidence. Look, I never thought I love Stefanski as a coach. I always thought is Flores probably, and if not, McDermott. I can't pronounce his last name from Buffalo. McDermott. Yeah, McDermott.
McDermott may just play himself into it. Yeah. Well, coach.
Yeah, so it's one of. I think if Miami makes it to the playoffs, I think it's it's Flores to lose. If Miami somehow slips out of the playoffs, I think it's McDermott to lose.
I think it's Zach Taylor. Just kidding.
Hey, the way he's been playing.
Okay, I could care so little about who wins the damn award.
Yeah, so it should have been. Look, it was Stefanski in a runaway before this week. Now it's interesting again. It could still be Flores, although I think that they're going to get beat badly by Buffalo. And so I don't know. Do you give it to a guy who didn't even make it to the playoffs? Because they didn't. Remember Tomlin last year, 8-8 with Duck and Mason. You could make a strong argument that was Coach of the Year performance, and they didn't give it to him because, again, he didn't make the playoffs.
Exactly. I think you have to make the playoffs.
Here's what's going to happen. If the Browns make the playoffs, they'll give it to him because I know how the national media thinks, and they do this insulting stuff where it's like, he made the playoffs with the Browns? Oh, my God. He has to be Coach of the Year. And they're going to run with that goofy narrative, and it's going to be kind of insulting why they give the dude. Like, I don't care about it. I'm happy for Kevin Stefanski if he does get it. He has to win this game. If you drop these two, you definitely ain't going to be Coach of the Year. You got 2 layups to get into the playoffs. Like, you better get in. But yeah, if they get into the playoffs, they're going to run with that media narrative. We're like, oh, celebrate the Browns because they used to be trash, and now let's give them a pat on the back and some training wheels because they actually did something most competent teams regularly do.
Okay, so here it says if Zach Taylor wins, I'll be fine with him staying, or else gone. So I guess
If
that's
he wins this week,
Yeah, this week.
win and
Yeah.
stay in.
He already bought at least himself a year.
Oh yeah, I agree.
Mike Hilton, unsung Steelers hero of
That's
the
Tony's
year.
boy.
No, listen.
Tony's
Mike Hilton
boy.
deserves all of the money. I mean, you can make TJ Watt is the defensive player of the year, and by the way, Tua's having just as good a year as Watt is, and Hilton is probably like the 5th best player on this defense right now. But man, is he having a great year? And it's going to be sad if he does go somewhere else. He's going to get paid in the offseason. I don't know if the Steelers. There is rumor now that the salary cap may be around $200 million. So maybe Omar Khan and the Steelers front office can make something work, but he's going to get
need some DBs, baby.
Yeah.
Okay, so we go to the Browns now. The Browns game, look, I was score watching during the whole game of the Ravens, and I was like, oh my God, the Jets are winning, but this is not gonna last. This is not gonna. And then the Browns score. I was like, oh, they're coming because the Jets can be competent. Obviously, this fumble from Baker happened, and even with that, right, the Jets couldn't pull a touchdown because a touchdown would have just make a game over. It was a field goal, so obviously the Browns had the opportunity. But I'm actually gonna start with Q, and I'll let Q go. Now it's your time to not derail, just rail us into the Browns experience.
All right, man. This is what y'all want. All right, so there are 2 lines of thoughts that I have about this. One, you lost the game because you stunk. Like, that's why you lost the game. We could talk about the circumstances surrounding it. Those are definitely good circumstances. Well, not good, but like, though, as far as excuses go, you got some decent circumstances. You did not have a single NFL wide receiver out there. Your tight end stunk. You just could not run the ball because your offensive line was worse than your wide receiving core. I get it. You did not have a full deck. You still had more than enough opportunities against the Jets to win that game. And what I really want to tear into is the defense. Now, we talked about this earlier with Joe Woods. And Joe Woods has been awful. Joe Woods' defense, somehow, there's on one play where it's Mack Wilson, who was a starter last year, Carl Joseph, who was a starter for the Raiders last year, and Denzel Ward, our best corners, are tasked with guarding Chris Henderson and whoever the Jets running back is out the backfield. It was not Frank Gore, but it's a 3-on-2 situation. It's pretty much a cover 2 man look. And they were so incompetent in communication. All 3 of them followed the running back and just let the tight end slip by. Our three guys who are veterans on this defense just could not communicate. At some point, I have to think this is on Joe Woods. He's not. This has to be on coaching. The communication can't be this bad. Why do we have all of our linebackers playing hero ball? Why is it every week all of our linebackers can never just do and be where they're supposed to be? Raven fans know how annoying that can be. That's what all 4 weeks of 2019 were when you guys weren't winning every game last year. Was your linebackers peanut trying to be a hero? You suck. Don't be a hero. Just be in the spot. You might actually make a play. You might actually make a stop. But Mack Wilson thinks he's Ray Lewis out there, and he's not Ray Lewis. BJ Goodson, when he's out there, plays hero ball. Played hero ball against Lamar Jackson. That's why Pookie Brown got wide open. All of this stuff culminates into just the most dysfunctional, poorly ran defense I have seen in quite a while. And I've seen Steve Wilkes. I have seen Greg Williams defenses. I have never seen a defense that runs into themselves as much as this Browns defense. They don't look like professionals out there a lot of the times. You talk about running into yourself, just run a pick play. You know why I'm still worried about this Steelers game on Sunday? It's because the Steelers, if they don't do anything, they run a ton of short pick plays. What can't the Browns not do on defense? Not run into each other. So Juju might just have an historic day because we can't not run into a pick, either if it's designed or if it's not. And here's the problem with this defense. Communication is the problem. All right, let's play less zone. Let's go into more man. They've tried that. Now they're running into each other. They can't stop running into each other. They can't figure out their space on the field. They can't yell out, hey, bruh, coming through as a crosser. No, they can't do that. So they just run into each other. If they play zone, it's even worse because they can't pass off. Nobody's going to be disciplined enough to stay in their zone. Somebody's going to vacate, leave something wide open. And if they're a halfway decent quarterback, you're going to take advantage of that. It's just been awful all year. And I was saying at the beginning of the season, there's a reason why that was. Maybe 4 weeks, 8 weeks max, you get this stuff fixed on the defensive side of the ball. It is week 16. It's worse than it's been all season, and you're healthier than you've been all season at defensive back. I don't know what the excuse is anymore for Joe Woods. I don't know how I excuse this anymore for Joe Woods. I don't know what to tell Joe Woods. If the fact is either he fixes it, either they get some kind of system to communicate out there, or you're gone, bro. Like, you can't continue to do this. I can't continue to see professional defensive backs run into each other like I'm watching Tulsa and Charlotte play. Like, it's ridiculous how much they do this. Have you guys seen an NFL team this year? The Jets are starting undrafted free agents. They don't run into each other every play. The Browns can't stop doing it. It's so frustrating. And that's all on coaching. There's no way these professional athletes are doing something that makes it that they're incapable of sensing each other. This is all on coaching with them. The personnel's not that bad. It's not this bad. It's not 24 points to Sam Darnold bad. And I saw some people say, hey, Quincy, you're being too tough on the defense. They made 2 key stops at the end of the game. Congratulations. You stopped Sam Darnold. You want me to pat you on the back? Pat the defense on the back for starting Sam Darnold. You're one of 7 NFL teams, all Sam Darnold's career, that have ever made him look good. He's had like 6 good games in his career. You're number 7. Congratulations, Joe Woods. You stopped them for 2 drives at the end of the game when they were falling apart, and you still couldn't beat them. You still couldn't get a turnover. You still couldn't stop the run. What are we good at on defense? When Myles Garrett's not Superman out there, we have no answer. When Denzel Ward is not like Superman out there, we have no answer. And now we're going to go in here and think we're going to roll over the Steelers because they're starting Mason Rudolph. I got news for you. Mason Rudolph can throw a 5-yard screen because it's all it takes, because the defense does the rest of the job. So unless that gets fixed, you're not going to win another game this season. The defense needs to get that fixed. So if Joe Woods wants to keep his job, he needs to do that. I don't know how it's going on this long. It should have got fixed after Baltimore. It literally cost you the game in Baltimore. It cost you it twice with Trace McSorley out there, and then Lamar Jackson comes out there, you do it worse. And it's still not fixed? Like, what is this? We laughed all day at Pittsburgh. Oh, man, they lost to the Bengals. It was real fun. Is it funny now? Like, Browns fans in the chat, is it funny now? I want to know. Is it going to be funny next week if we lose to the Steelers? So I'm not doing no premature victory lap. Oh, it's just Mason Rudolph. No, our defense can't even not run into each other. They're not going to tackle nobody. How can I trust that? No. Yeah. So we need Baker Mayfield to come through offensively. The defense can't do nothing. And you know what? If Big Ben didn't have that second half last week, he would have had the whole game this week. So that is what it is. The defense has got to stop running into each other. There's literally no reason why this defense continues to run into each other. We can talk about the list all we want, the close contacts, the lack of wide receivers, all of that, and it's bad. Baker Mayfield fumbling the ball 3 times, that's bad. 2 of those were on him. 1 of those wasn't. That was on Kendall. When that was on Jack Conklin, he just let somebody get by him on the blind side. That's not on Baker. But the fumbling with the quarterback sneak, and that's why Kevin Stefanski shouldn't win Coach of the Year. Why does he keep calling this? Why do you keep calling this? You're on 4th and 1. You have a fullback in Nick Chubb, and you're going to run a quarterback sneak with the dude who's already fumbled one and almost lost you the game in Jacksonville? Like, where's our head at? Where was the head the whole game? Like, people tell me that the Browns would have no doubt won that game. The way they played that game, they wouldn't have won if they had Jarvis, because the defense wasn't missing nobody. And they let Sam Darnold do that. That was the biggest problem. The defense and the offensive line, that was going to be what it was going to be coming into that game. The wide receivers had nothing to do with that. You know, B.J. Goodson is not your savior. And if you're telling me, well, B.J. wasn't there, it's going to get fixed when B.J. gets out there, B.J. Goodson's going to fix the defense? If that's the fix, then Joe Woods should be fired right now and bring in Lou Anarumo, because at least Lou Anarumo can teach you how to run a competent cover 1. We can't run cover 2 man. We can't do 2 man. You ran 2 man in high school. I'm pretty sure everybody's run 2 man. We can't do it. Like, we can't do it. It's inexplainable. And when I watch the tape, I get even more frustrated. People talk about the Browns didn't run the ball at all. And you know what? On 4th and 1, should have ran the ball because you actually had momentum going there. But every other down, no, they shouldn't have ran the ball more than 20 times. Like, Baker had to throw the ball 50 times because it was that bad on the offensive line. And I don't want to be too tough on Nick Harris because he's playing out of position, he's undersized, and he's the 3rd-string guard and the 3rd-string center. I don't want to be too tough on. This dude was literally like inactive all season before the New York game. But he was getting murdered, like Cam Hayward levels of getting murdered by a linebacker on the 2nd level of plays. I'm talking about a linebacker just comes down and bull rushes your starting right guard. Is that ever been a good sign to run the ball? Are you going to run power when your right guard's getting bull rushed off the line by a stand-up middle linebacker that's not Ray Lewis? We going to run power. That's what we going to do? That's going to save the game? No, man. That wasn't going to save the game. Nick Harris was out there, and he was going to be out there regardless. He was elite. Like, I don't know if the Browns win that game and they have everybody there. They played poorly, and I hope they learn. They had this little win streak. Maybe they were feeling themselves that they can lose these games in the NFL. They are not that good yet. And they came into this game thinking they were that good, thinking that they could win being unfocused without 4 wide receivers, thinking that they could win being unfocused without 2 running backs, thinking that they could win being unfocused on defense when they're literally one of the worst units in the NFL, thinking that they were just going to walk in there and beat the Jets because they're the Browns. No. That's not how the NFL works. The Steelers learned it last week against the Bengals. You know, the Ravens learned it against the Patriots, and maybe they might learn it against the Bengals next week. I don't know. It could happen. That's the thing you can't rule out. So that's what's been frustrating about this game. That's what makes me mad. The wide receiver stuff, Baker not being able to move the ball, that's not going to last all year. That's not going to be something that goes on past this game. Obviously, Baker wasn't going to be able to throw the ball. It's a timing offense. He had no wide receivers he threw routes with. That's one thing. I'm not mad about Baker. But the defense, that's stuff that carries over.
Yeah.
That's stuff that needs to be fixed. And in a game where you have 4 wide receivers out, you look at your defense and say, hey, you have Denzel Ward, you have Myles Garrett. We need you to step up. And for them to not be able to competently run 2-man. People run 2-man when they just go outside and they're bored in their jeans in high school and just play street ball. We could not run it. We could not run 2-man. We could not run cover 2 zone. We couldn't definitely can't run no Tampa 2. Can't run nothing. Can't do nothing. Can't stop nothing. Sam Darnold sliced us up, man. On defense, that was healthy. That's the problem. That's the focus. That's what they need to fix. And if Joe Woods can't get it looking any better, if it looks bad next week against Mason Rudolph and you still win that game, still fire Joe Woods. Because this is ridiculous at this point. It's like somebody has to be able to come in there and tell these dudes not to run into each other. I don't know. What are they doing in film session? Hey, Carl Joseph, you ran into Denzel Ward again. Could you not do that? Nah. Like, what are they doing?
I wonder, the Steelers used to have this issue a lot. I mean, I would rail on Keith Butler, the Steelers defensive coordinator, for this because, it was like the first 4 years of his career was miscommunication after miscommunication. A lot of it was certain players, right? Artie Burns would get picked on a lot, but certain route combinations that teams knew, hey, this is going to cause a miscommunication. We actually saw this early in the year. Remember, Minka and Hayden were having this problem early in the year when they would cut the crosser and then they would have the go route. The Giants scored a touchdown on that, and then the Broncos scored a touchdown on it later. Some of it, Quincy, I know you're going to get on the defensive coordinator, and I got on Keith Butler as much as any person in Steeler Nation. Some of it, though, can just come down to players. Right? I mean, the Steelers kind of talented their way out of the problem, which is, they got it. You got Minka in there, you got Devin Bush, right, and then Spillane was very good. You can kind of talent your way out of those kind of miscommunications. But I will agree with you. It's frustrating. I know it's frustrating as a fan and frustrating to watch.
Yeah, I will say this for the Browns. The Ravens-Browns game, which was one of the best games that I've seen this year, the reason why that game there was an open door was when Lamar, Baker was playing great, but the defense was not. Like, the problem right now with the Browns is they're hoping that Baker needs to be perfect, essentially. Because if the Browns defense is showing no resistance to anybody. Obviously, the Ravens offense was picking it up, and as soon as Lamar went down, there was a slowdown. But if you check that defense right now, the Jets it's not like the Jets are bad because their defense is trash and they have a power offense, because that things can happen, right? No, the Jets are just a battle around team. We were making a joke 2 weeks ago that the Jets might not win against a college team, right? Mm-hmm. Obviously, after that, they had won back-to-back games. But the Browns defense, they need to show some pride here, right? And we have talked about Myles Garrett being phenomenal. And after he went with COVID, he hasn't been completely the same. And that's unfortunate. But the rest of the team, I mean, you need to show some resistance here. And all I see is like, look, the James Crowder touchdown pass, that shit happens, right? I mean, you got off guard. That was a trick play. Great call, great timing, perfect call. But after that,
it's the touchdown to Henderson that really pissed me off.
Yeah,
like the trick play is like, I already know you're sorry. Like, I know that you're sorry enough to let that go. Like, that's one thing. That's just you being sorry on defense. I'm not somebody who thinks this is ever going to be a top 15 defense this year. No, you're in low 20 defense. These are the things that you could do against low 20s defense. Like, it just happens. That happens for bad defenses because you're sorry. That's your reason that happens. The Henderson touchdown, that's not even excusable if you suck. That's not excusable. Like, the 0-16 Browns did not do stuff like that. Like, weren't that level of incompetent on defense. And when Greg Williams is the bar for competency and coaching on the defensive side of the football, when I know, Tony, you said you can talent your way out of this. Everybody on that field's more talented than anybody who started on that 2017 Browns team. And yet this stuff was not happening with that team. Yeah. But it's happening with all of these guys, and I'm telling you, this is why it happens. Because for whatever reason, either it's coming from the coaching staff or these guys are just trying to take matters into their own hand. But you have a play where three guys just need to be in the right spot. They'll make the play easy. They might even get an interception. But instead, all three of them want to be the hero. All three of them want to do their own thing. All three of them want to be Jamie Collins. And all three of them end up being right at the wrong spot and letting a tight end get through. And that's like, how does that continue to happen? How do people not get benched? How does that happen, dude?
It's frustrating.
Yeah. So I won't be as harsh as Quincy is on the Browns defense, because when I looked at that game and I was watching it, what happened was the Jets kind of jumped out early on and the Browns offense just really couldn't respond. And when I look at this game, I understand what Quincy is saying. I'm not trying to go against what he's saying. But to me, when you look at what the Jets did last week, they scored 23 against the Rams as well. So it's not like, and I don't think that we all thought like the Browns had this elite defense or anything like that, but they did keep them in the game. I think the issue, even though no one wants to say that it's the issue, it's the fact they didn't have wide receivers. How can you make a game plan coming into this game when you have no wide receivers? Of course, all the Jets have to do is play the run, because that's all you can do. When you've got three tight ends and running backs lining up at receiver, that's what other teams are going to do. They're going to capitalize on that. The only thing that disappointed me in this game with the Browns coach, Stefanski, is that he was not creative. Like, if I'm in this situation, I'm running Wildcat. I'm doing all kinds of trick plays or whatever because I have no receivers. And for Baker to have to be in a game where it's all on him, but he has no receivers, it's just not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. These are guys that he has absolutely no chemistry with. These guys don't know where he likes the ball at. And this is coming from a guy that has seen what chemistry issues could do to Joe Burrow and AJ Green. They were not on the same page. Those guys are very good. We're talking about guys that you just pulled off of the street, threw into this game, probably haven't even been practicing this entire week, and expecting them to do something. Like, for me, it just was hard in this game for the Browns to actually come out and not be stifled by the situation, that they were in. Like, I expected them to run it like 100 times because there was nothing else that you could really do.
They tried.
Yeah.
Joe Woods, not a great defensive coordinator or anything like that, but it's not like they went into this game like the Patriots defense giving up 38, the Packers giving up 40. I mean, not the Packers, but the Titans giving up 40. The Cowboys the Eagles giving up 37 to the Cowboys. The Titans giving up 37 to us with a backup quarterback. It wasn't that bad, but it it was hard to see how you guys were going to win this game with no wide receivers, especially guys that he had no chemistry with. I played Austin Hooper. You know why? Because I knew he was going to get targets in this game because there was literally no one else that they could throw to. But
I guess my frustration is that they just.
I understand. I get it. I get it.
It's still that you were in positions to win the game. You still were there. You still were on the 20 to get to tie the game at 7. You had the one possession where you could have drove down and scored, but you couldn't. Like, they were even able to move the ball at some points. Like, the offense was a problem. I'm not trying to downplay that. I'm not trying to say that the wide receivers not being out there wasn't a factor. But if you know that's going to be out there, and look, let's be honest here. It happened on Saturday night. Like, what can they do? You know, one of the reasons why Freddie Kitchens got fired is because he called plays that they never practiced, and it looked terrible when they did it. So I don't think Kevin was going to do it. He wasn't going to go. He's not the type of dude to go out there, play Wildcat, and that's probably why he's here. So I get why everything happened on offense. It's just defensively, when you know the team, like these are playoff standards for this team. Like, we have to look at it like that. And defensively, when you know the other unit is down all their wide receivers, you have to know you have to step up. And for them to put in the type of performance it did, for them to give up that many points is not the problem. For them to give up the points that they did to the Jets in the way that they did, in the undisciplined way, in the way that it looked like they were sleepwalking through half the game when the team needed them, that's what frustrates me. That's what makes me mad. That's the stuff that gets people fired. It's not just the points. I get the Rams are a very good defense. The Jets were able to move the ball and score on them, but I watched the Jets game against the Rams. They were competent in that game. This week, they didn't even have to be competent. It was just the Browns giving them play after play, not making tackles, taking terrible angles. Like, this wasn't the Jets outplaying you. They tried to lose this game. You just allowed them to beat you. And that's the most frustrating part. If this defense, like, God forbid we ever need the defense to make a stop, that's what you need. You need even on bad defenses, even the Kansas City Chiefs, who never had a great defense, when the team needs them to make a chance or they're shorthanded or something, the defense needs to step up for a play or two. They can get that out of them. If you're going to be a playoff team, that's what I need to see. And hopefully this is just a one-game thing. Hopefully they get this taken care of. They play Pittsburgh. They look solid, and they make a run because they're more than capable of doing that. I've seen this defense play well with Ronnie Harrison and Denzel Ward out there. Right. But it's just with Denzel Ward, with Myles Garrett, you have no excuse. You come out there and you probably put up defensively your worst performance of the year when the team needed you the most. That just does not sit well with me.
Think about that, Quincy. Your worst defensive performance of the year, you guys only gave up 23 points. Like, think about that.
That's against their bad offense.
And I also think
you also have to think about this. The offense had 2 turnovers. So whether you like that or not, it was still 2 fumbles lost, and they allowed 4 sacks. Like, they weren't helping the defense either on that end of the ball. And that makes it easier for an offense to score when you're turning the ball over right to them.
True. But I think where Quincy's frustration comes from is that it wasn't as though, a lot of times in a game like this where your offense can't move the football, right? And then it accumulates to the point where the defense is just tired. They've been out there for so many plays. Right. And then the wheels fall off. That didn't happen in this game, right? All the points came. This Browns team was down 20-3 right after halftime. Right, coming out of halftime, boom, 20-3. Right. So it wasn't as though this was an accumulation of poor play offensively that led to the defense kind of cracking late. The defense, I'm gonna be honest, I didn't get to see a whole lot of this game because while the bartender did put it on for me, I didn't want to watch it because, again, embarrassed. By the way, any Steeler fan who watched their game at a bar, were you really score watching? Were you really looking at the Jets scoring and going, "Ooh, goody, we're going to win the division by getting clobbered by Indy, but the Jets are going to win"? Like, it was embarrassing for me that the bartender even offered to put the game on. I was embarrassed that I even kept checking it. But that's, we all did it.
I did it.
But think about what you just said, Tony. They were up 20-3. So the Browns defense only gave up 3 points in the next half.
Right. No, you're right about that. Like this wasn't an atrocious defensive performance. And you're not going to win a whole lot of games in the NFL if you only score 16 points. Right. But I think where Quincy's talking about, you're down 20-3, all of a sudden, you throw the game plan out the window a little bit. Now are you really going to be running the ball 3 times in a game where you're down 20-3? No, you're gonna have to open it up more in an offense where, and this is a big problem, right? You can criticize. People are going to criticize Baker for the bad play and the 4 sacks that he took and the 3 fumbles, 2 that he lost. But this is a problem for Stefanski. I bet he could have coached his way out of this. if he had literally any prep time for knowing that those wide receivers weren't going to play, right? The idea that this is, he's given like 24, 48 hours, whatever it was, notice, hey, by the way, you're not going to have any wide receivers, so scheme around that.
I think it's more so on Stefanski than Baker, because to go into a game without wide receivers and really have a game plan to throw it 53 times makes me kind of look at the coach like,
it wasn't the game plan though. Like, that's what part of what Tony's talking about. It's like against the Jaguars, they played bad defensively, but it was obvious that they were just like tired out and they were just low on people. Like that's one thing. But it was like this week, it was like they just showed up and the Jets were just driving down the field. And then you get down by multiple scores, and then it's like, what else is he gonna do other than throw the ball? At that point, the Jets thoroughly beat you, because here's what the Jets did. They took you out of your game plan. They scored points to take you out of your offensive game plan and force you to throw the ball. And then they seized on that opportunity offensively because the defense was not able to do anything there. Even when they got the stops, they weren't getting the stops. Like, they weren't getting 3 and outs. It was just Sam Darnold decided to throw 3 incompletions in a row inexplicably. People were open. He just did not make the play because he's Sam Darnold. Right. So it's just, it boils onto each other. And I get the team lost and all that, but the reason that Kevin Stefanski had to throw that ball 53 times, the reason Baker Mayfield was put in like already a bad position to start the game, then even worse positions, and then it just fed into worse positions for that defense, is because they did not come out there at the beginning of that game with the energy of like, hey, it's up to us. We're the healthy unit. We got to step up this week. No, it took them to the second half to wake up against the Jets. And like, I get the Jets had a good game against the Rams, but dog, come on, they got 2 wins. It's the Jets.
No, I mean that's true, but outside of Miles Jack and Denzel Ward, who are you really looking to on that Browns defense to just like take over?
You still got Sheldon Richardson. You still got Olivier Vernon. You still got Larry Ogunjobi. You still got all these guys that you're paying all this money. Malcolm Smith's supposed to be one of the better linebackers in the NFL, supposedly, according to Pro Football Focus. Denzel Ward's supposed to be good. Obviously, you mentioned him. But Terrence Mitchell, he's not trash. He played like trash against the Jets. He's not normally that bad. Sheldrick Redwine, he's terrible. He's been terrible. That's why Sendejo's been out there. Whatever. But you still had Sendejo. And Carl Joseph. Carl Joseph should not be in the line of excuses. He should not be this bad. He's a $5 million free agent. Like, he was supposed to start this year, and he's been all-time awful at the strong. He can't be back there. And then Sheldrick Redwine and Carl Joseph, most useless two-deep safety group I've ever seen in my life. They just stand there in the middle of the field and then just watch dudes run by them. I've never seen free safeties trail so often than I've seen these two. Like, I don't understand how it happens every freaking play with these two. And it's like, please, Ronnie Harrison, come back. Be healthy, be decent, because all we need is just competent at that position. We don't got that right now, and that's what's frustrating. And we're begging on dudes like Ronnie Harrison and BJ Goodson to bring competency back to this defense, and that's just not a good position you want to be in when I think this offense, when they're fully stocked, is actually good enough to make a deep run in the playoffs, but it's the defense. Is the defense going to be competent this year? Because if they're competent, you might be able to do it. You might be able to win a game in the playoffs. You might be able to win 2, 3, 4. Who knows? But it's going to be up to them. And the sense of urgency is on because you don't ever know how often you're going to get back to a situation where you're playing for the playoffs or in the playoffs. So when you get those opportunities, you can't have something as goofy as incompetence on defense. You can be bad on defense and that be an excuse. But incompetence on defense, you can't have that be what holds you back. And that's what it's looking like that can hold them back. And that's inexcusable at this point.
Can I give like one, because Quincy last week was the glimmer of hope for Steeler fans. Hey, Steeler fans, like, it's not going to end like this. You got a chance. I will give Browns fans one glimmer of hope, because there was a moment in this game in the third quarter where I did think, the Browns are going to come back and win this game. When they blocked, I've talked about this year. The Browns have had these big plays and big moments right when they need them, right? It's very un-Browns-like. Something we don't normally see from Browns teams is to come up with big plays right when they need them. And they
feel better.
Yeah, I know. Sorry. It did. But it's been something that's happened to them
all year.
He's building it up. You got to knock them down to build them back up again. Knock them down at this point. Browns usually suck. No. Well, it's true. They come up with big plays and big moments this year. And they actually did in this game. I mean, there was a sequence. That sequence where it starts with the blocked field goal. Okay, then you go into touchdown drive for the Browns, then a 3-and-out for the defense, and then another touchdown drive to cut the lead from what was 20-3, it could have been 23-3 to 20-16. Boy, it felt like this Browns team had some momentum. Now, again, I didn't watch I didn't watch closely enough to see what happened from that point. But I do think Browns fans can at least take some solace in the idea that like that's still happening, even in what is the worst moment for the Browns this year. There's still big plays and big moments are happening for this team, and look, that they'll need that certainly when you're going to make a run in the playoffs.
Let me say this:
you beat the Steelers next week, it don't matter.
Y'all think this is worse than the Week 1 loss to the Ravens?
Week 1 loss though, that was like okay, Stefanski's first game, no training camp. None of that. Like there's reasons.
You're supposed to beat the Jets, right?
This is worse than the loss to the Steelers too.
At the Ravens. And then the Browns also, like, just like as a Browns fan, we have not won the opening game in like 20 years. So, like, we don't ever expect to put up a good performance. Like, that's just what it is with the opener. You know what I mean? But it would be like this if the Browns had come out that Thursday night football game against the Bengals, it didn't just like lost to the Bengals that week. Like, it would have been like this on week 2 because it's like, nah, dog, you're not lose. Like, I don't care, Joe Burrow, all this hype. Like, yeah, cool. You're not supposed to lose to the Bengals. You're supposed to, you're supposed to be making your run this year. So, look. All this stuff I said, I'm not normally mean to be this doom and gloom, but all this stuff goes away if you beat the Steelers next week, and then, you're probably going to play them again in the playoffs if you beat them next week. And if you do it 2 weeks in a row, then you know what? I'm not mentioning Joe Wood's job anymore. So, all this could go away if you win. And that's really all it takes. The Steelers, right? It was all doom and gloom last week for the Steelers. Now Tony got a king crown and his little
the Kings of the North.
Smiling is all greasy, like, all happy and all this pink and stuff. Like, you know what? It can change that fast, Browns fan. So don't think I'm down on the team or anything like that. It's just I just want to see a sense of urgency on the defensive side of the ball for this next week.
Okay, guys, so before we go, please make sure you hit that like button. Also, don't forget to hit the bell because as New Year's is coming, times might change and we might adjust the times a little bit. And something that I did want to mention, and this is a sad note for the AFC North talk. Not the talk, but the AFC North. As much as a good division we are, as much as I think we are the best division, the effing AFC East swept the AFC North this year. All AFC East teams beat the AFC North team, which is kind of sad.
Blame the Ravens. Blame the Ravens for that one.
Yeah, the Ravens lost to the Patriots. Steelers lost to the Bills. Jets beat the Browns and Miami beat the Bengals. So it's kind of sad, right? Because I don't think they're a good division, but I had to give them props. All their 4 teams beat all our 4 teams. Let's hit that super chat before we go. Sep316, shout out to you. Thank you for the super chat. Not sure why Steelers aren't going to knock out the Browns. I do. Let me just say this before I go to Tony. The Steelers were gearing to have a bye week. Also, the Steelers have older players that should need or the bye will benefit them. You don't need this game, right? In theory, you're probably gonna sit in third, even if you win the game. So win or lose, you're probably gonna sit there put. Would I play them a quarter? Maybe, but it's really a quarter gonna be that significant. Just go healthy, take your bye.
I don't think this is a great strategy by Pittsburgh, by the way, to not play their starters. If I were Pittsburgh, I would kill them because you're really risking playing a division team 2 weeks in a row and then letting a division team win to get in on you. Like, I get it's the Browns and they just don't fear us. So, and for a good reason, we haven't beat them in a while. But, that would not be a play I would make. Like, if that were the Baltimore Ravens and I was the Steelers or if we're the Steelers, I'd be like, nah, I'm not trying to see you no more. I'm trying to get you out of here, dog. I'm trying to see the Dolphins. Like, that's what I'm trying to see.
There's that. I mean, there's a lot to say here. I will do a whole thing on it on Thursday because I have a lot of thoughts on this. I do not agree that the Steelers are I don't agree with resting the starters. I do not.
Nah, me either. The Bengals did that against the Texans. I think that was 2011. We played them week 17, let them win so we could play them again. Then I think we lost to like Matt Schaub or TJ Yates the next week. Yeah. So not a good play.
Again, it's not so. And for me, look, it's not so much to have to play them again because if you don't play the Browns again, you might have to play the Ravens again. If let's say you got the 2 seed, right, then you'd have to play Indy or something like that. I mean, you're going to have to play a team twice or someone like that coming up, unless they match up against Miami. But there's a lot more into this, right? You're talking about a football team that has literally in the last 6 weeks played one half of one good football game. And all of a sudden, like, hey, let's roll this thing into the playoffs. And then the other idea is like the 2 seed is still possible. Miami has to win in order to make the playoffs. So there's that. Miami has a lot to play for. Buffalo could. I know Buffalo is unlikely to lose, but they could. And the 2 seed would mean that if you play Buffalo again, you play them in Pittsburgh and not in Buffalo. And go look at Ben Roethlisberger's home road splits. I think that answers a lot of questions as to what's going on with Chef Ben this year. Chef Ben is a little home cooking, let's say. We'll talk about that on Thursday.
Okay, well, shout out to everybody that joined the live stream. Please don't forget to give that like. Also, thank you for supporting the channel. I think we have over 400 people watching the live stream, so we appreciate all of you. Thank you. Next Thursday, we should be here at the same time. But again, hit that bell in case we change the times. And hey, guys, we'll see you next time. Peace out.
Are you listening? Damn.